Well, hopefully this gets started. And here we go. We're starting to get things up and running right now. There. Something to work from anyway. Good morning out there. We are getting to start this stream for June 7th. And I'm Richard Murray. This is the Zidim channel. And the focus for this channel is 3D printing and model trains. My printer is grinding away right here. What it's doing is not related to model trains. It is a very, very cool iPad holder that I discovered. So we'll see if, here we go. There. Can you see it? No, there. What it is, can't really tell from that angle, I guess. Perhaps see right in here, a little bit lumpy there. It is a octopus style, octopus arms for the iPad holder. So that's what's printing there. I am getting some strange things from it. And this is Pet G. And I really had to crank up the temperature for it to get some decent printing going. But I'm getting these odd bits. There, we'll try the transition again. You can just see this upon my hand. It's a little bit of burnt material. And there's a few chunks of that have fallen off. And another thing I've had is when I change filaments, what pushed through the new filament, it's flowing cleanly, but then partway into the start of the print, I start getting chunks of the filament falling out, either falling out or just becoming part of the print. But they're not coming from the heat block or the nozzle. It's like there's something further up that's slowly building up and then it falls through. So what I believe part of the issue may be is that it's still over extruding. So that is a calibration that I'm going to have to work on for this one. Right now I'm just very happy that it's up and running. So it was a bit of a challenge to get to that point. But I had another issue at one point where I was getting, almost felt like sand with the first layer. It wasn't smooth, and did two things, and that was clean out the nozzle, and then there was a fair amount of dust inside the housing by the extruder gear there, and so it'd been through time building up flakes of filament in there, and it probably was that stuff making its way into the mix. Cleaned out both those two, and I was getting clean prints again. So once again, not 100% certain which one was the problem, but the problem has been solved and we're back up and running. Now the exciting news is tomorrow my workstation is supposed to arrive, and with that the 64 gig of RAM in there, and it's an i7. Hi Bob, morning. Looking forward to having that set up here in place, and should be a lot of fun getting that up and running. I have a copy of ZBrush on the way. Actually, 2 copies, one for Brenna, one for myself. We got the copies that have the Wacom tablets with them. The one tablet I have here, the Graphier, it's getting hard to find drivers for it. So with that, it's a good chance to get the tablets. Brenna's going to use hers a lot more than I do, but they are nice to use. So got those coming, as well as the Agisoft software for taking the photographs and turning them into models. So that's the main reason I'm getting this workstation built the way that it is. And it's going to be over in the train room, what I like to call Studio B. So I have to reconfigure a number of things to get it in there. The train room is the former master bedroom in this house. It's not a huge room, and it's mostly full of trains. So I want to get this printer in there, as well as that computer, plus at least one more monitor in there. So it's going to be some changes. That'll be my project for the rest of today after the cast, when I'm not outside working in the gardens. I got 3 of my garden beds in. I have maybe, let's see, 16 tomato plants out there. So I'm going to be drowning in tomatoes come late summer, early fall. But most of these tomatoes started myself just by slicing a tomato and putting the slice under about ½ inch of soil, and lo and behold, I had all sorts of tomato plants start up. So it worked like a charm. We'll see how the tomatoes turn out. So that's my activities outside of the printing. Also printing away here, and I was going to bring it and I didn't. Where is it? You know, the incredible world of spinners. So built own design a spinner, and let's see, do I have the new model on here. So let's take a look at what we did with the spinner, and here it is. Got the Z for the Zidim on there. This is a covered spinner. These are housings for the internal nuts going in there. So doing the Zs on there became quite a challenge. I did it one way and it worked like a charm. Very easy to use the pattern tool and add 3 of them on there. Did the extrude, did it once, went and did it on this side, and I could not get it to work. I tried time after time. So we did that, and then I'll show you the slicer version. And these are the pads to go over the bearing, and there's a very slight slope to this. Let it press in, and then there's a fillet on the top to make it easier to put them in, and also did 2 cuts through the circle, give it a little compression space. So that is the spinners. Let's see now. We got this here, and I'm not going to. I have been good. I've been using Slicer for my slicing lately, but I'm going to need to use Simplify for this. Oh, here's the final part for the MakerBox Maker Coin. They're getting mailed off today, so here, I'll remove remove that one first. Import. What do I have here? We have projects. We have my spinner projects. And let's see. That's the bearing cover. And here's my covered spinner. And I'm not going to do major check here. We'll do a preview. And the reason I'm going to be using this, okay, there's the hole for the nuts going in here. And I may have to change the settings in here so it doesn't do a pass on the inside. And it'll be interesting to see what will happen. My goal is to get it to this point. Pause it. I'll put a pause in at this point. Add the nuts. And then let it finish up. So we have a finished component. Now, the one change may be doing, there'll be multiple processes on here, but advanced and avoid crossing. Now, I don't know how that avoid crossing process will work, and sorry I had that on a separate screen. So if I do it this way, there, I am going to use that setting. Because you can see the difference that this made. We don't have crossing over these holes. We don't have it over here. And the setting for that, once again, exit preview mode. And I'll be editing the process. That change was under advanced, and I used the movement behavior change to avoid crossing outline for travel movement. So there's that component to the slice. And the other component to the slice, see if I have my notes on this. I use, there we go. Now I'll, I think I need the brackets on here. Okay, now for this one, I have to go back to put that pause commands in here. Don't need it there yet. I need to do the slice here and want to make sure that I know which layer I'm looking at, layer 42. Okay, right now I am at layer 39. Layer 40. We are down in the lower left-hand corner. So I know we have layer 40 there. We'll do an edit here. Process 1. Let's see, let's cancel that. And I guess. I'm going to be printing these out of PLA. So standard PLA layers, infill, fast honeycomb, support. It's not being generated. This may be an issue for over the nuts, but we'll see. And layer sites. retraction speeds we won't be playing with. I do have to make a change here. Stop printing at height. Now I thought we had this by layer. I'm going to have to do a little bit of math to figure this out, unless it tells me. Let's see what happens here if we preview height, layer, line, single layer. Well, we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. So we got this pen and paper come out. Of course, the pen I grabbed didn't work. Where's the working pen? Come on. Well, that one works. Okay. Layers. Primary layer height is 0.2 millimeter. First layer height times 150%, so where's the calculator? Come on. I have 38 layers times 0.2 millimeters, 7.6 millimeters for that. And then I have one layer is 0.3, 7.9 millimeters will be the height based on these items here. So let's stop printing at height 7.9 millimeters. Okay, now under G code here, from these scripts, I need to add an end postscript, Control V, and this is layer 39. Now I need to add a second process here, and it's going to start printing at height. Now this is where I'm confused. It's either going to be 7.9 or 8.1. And so I'm going to try that. Go to the script. I don't need this on here. Double check my notes. And I just double checked my notes. This could be wrong as well, but at least it's the way I've been doing it. And that is, I did need this for both. Now, I've been told that this is much more difficult with InSlicer. So there we go. And we have this. It doesn't actually do a preview of the pause on there. Well, what we're going to do, have I experienced the other problems out there? Not yet, but it's more than likely that that has been a result of, I have my note, what's going on here. Save, good. Let's close that away. There, we got that slice looked after. I have not encountered it, but that is for two reasons. One, it's taken me quite a bit to get back to actually printing things after doing the house move, and then I had problems getting the printer up and running. But once we got through that, it has been busy, and I think almost everything I've sliced since then, I have been using Slicer and not simply 3D. So add to that the lack of experience that I have. It means I'm not certain what's going on there. For some of the stuff I do, Slicer is the better product. Basically, if you don't need to play with your processes like that, or be manually move your supports around, then it's not needed. For example, this print that I'm using right now, Bob, I wonder how much cable I have for this camera. Sorry for the motion sickness. Now you can see the octopus legs there and the supports in the middle. This is just default supports right through from Slicer. So we'll see what it's going to be like breaking those off. And I am printing this in PETG. As I said, I did have to crank the temperatures up quite a bit. You can see what we're sitting at here. So it's quite a warm bed and extruder. But I slice that with the InSlicer itself. Now, I didn't play with the smoothing coming off of it. One of the things I did build, I just printed straight off, is our wonderful frog. Comes with the package, and this one came out even better than what Brenna has for her frog. So extremely happy with it. Took quite a bit to get the calibration set up for the printer, but now that it's done, absolutely love it. So just a lot of fine tuning. Now, we talked about two things on the Friday night hangout. Two of the main topics was, one, care and feeding of the printers, and it's you have maintenance. It's a moving piece of equipment. So I am learning that for mine, for example, I have to regularly check that the extruder gear is secure. I've had it 3 times now come loose. Crank it down good and tight, run for maybe 10 hours of print time, and then have to go back in and retighten it. And once a month we're going in and tightening everything, checking that. Brenna's printer over on the other side, it's been up for 2 months now, and we have to give it a good going over, make sure everything's nice and tight. We have had a couple of print errors with it, so it's just a matter of doing some, TLC for the printers. Now, the other thing we talked about was safety, and especially when you're dealing with something like this. You saw that my heat block's running at 240 degrees Celsius. It's a little bit warm in there, so you got to be careful about dealing with that. I showed you the blobs that I'm getting. A lot of heat going on the inside. I worked with a little bit with the wood filament, and this is from Fox Smart Wood, and I had challenges with it, and one of the things that happened is I had it a piece of the filament break off within the extruder, broke off at the top, and that led partially was led by the problem I had with the extruder gear. It turned out it had come off, and it was a royal pain to get that piece out of there. That was what I was doing on Friday, actually clearing that. Went back to the standard nozzle because this stuff you have to use hardened steel, but one of the ways of clearing things is you actually go in, you don't do a preheat, you go set the temperature of the nozzle, you crank it up there over 250 degrees Celsius. But with the wood filament, I had smoke coming out. It was no flames, wasn't burning, but you are dealing with wood in a very high temperature area. So that was an issue that you have to pay attention to. And what do you have around there for the heat? Making sure you've seen Gus. Gus, my house cat, he likes to come up here. We're actually over on the other side. My daughter's computer is in a LAC table setup, but we haven't got plexiglass sides for it yet. That's on the to-do list. It's not there to have a heated, stable environment for ABS. I don't own any ABS yet, but that is there to keep the cat away from the heated bed and the heated heat block there. So safety there. If you have small ones in the house, that's another thing to consider. How do you keep curious fingers out there? And it's not just them too. It is such a temptation to, I see a little bit there, flick it out with your finger. But if you flick it up against something that's 240 degrees Celsius, you're going to get a burn. As it was, I've toasted my fingers a little bit. When somebody said on the Friday night hangout, yeah, their fingerprints are slowly disappearing there as you work with this stuff. So it's another concern that we have to look into. I don't have this safe for Gus yet at this location. That's why this is just a piece of foam core. It has prevented him from jumping up to the side, trying to walk through. He's jumped up here a couple times. Sometimes he lands on the shelf here. Well, yesterday he was there. I wasn't really paying attention to him, and he jumped right onto my shoulder. So I got some nice claw marks on the shoulder. So, we have that security issue to look into. One thing we did do with Brenna's is, I may have talked about this last week, this stuff here, this is a sleeping mat for camping. And I went to uh, while I was in High River for the house move, we took a bunch of stuff up. We have a salvage center at the dump, and it's things that really don't need to go into the dump, but they can be resold. So after we emptied the van, went in there and bought more stuff, and I bought that. I think I paid 25 cents for it. So it is denser than Yoga Mat. And Brenna's printer is very, very quiet since it's sitting on there. So I'll be adding that to my list of things to set up when I move this printer into the other room. So have that coming up. Let's see, I talked about, ZBrush. One of the things I'm really looking forward to with ZBrush is, here I have to open another image. Let me just get this opened up. There. And we'll take a look at the screen. Okay, in here, this is the end scale layout. You can see the blue of a river here, and we have the track going along the river. We've actually trimmed the foam along this pencil line, and I am going to, in ZBrush, create a rock wall to put in here, and that is to make it look like this track is hugging a cliff. There'll be a mountainside here. This track will be hugging the cliff as it goes along the side of the river, and my goal is to do that within ZBrush. And I have to, I've tried the concept within Sculptress, and it works. Chatted to a few people. Yes, that works. Chatted to them within the 3D printing for model trains. So we'll experiment with doing that. So looking forward to doing that type of printout, because it'll be basically a flat item with texture on top. So that's the goal here. Now, this is on hand. Probably not going to use a viaduct for this layout. This layout and scale set up so we can take it off to our trade show or our fall country fair, places like that. So I did have two images of that here, slightly different angle. And here are the tunnel portals. So ZBrush Core, by the way. Yes, good morning. It'll be ZBrush Core. I wasn't shelling out the 800 bucks for each for the two copies of ZBrush. We did get two copies with the Wacom tablets, so that's what's on the way. So here's the tunnel portals, just two of them set up roughly in location. Wasn't keen on having this fixture here, so my goal for today is to learn how to put two of these together. This will be double thick on the 2007. 2007, I think it might have been you, Bob, not 100% certain, a couple of weeks ago put out the I had these coming out, but they should have been indented, so that's what I did. I also made it very smooth font. 2007 is when our club's layout was built, so that's why we use the date for here. I have to make 8 tunnel portals for this little layout. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 tunnel portals. So we'll be making use of these. This piece here This was my original portal to this dimension. This comes from the NMRA standards for a modern tunnel, and it's high enough to take a double height container shipment through it. So that's where the dimensions came from. So once I got that set up, this one is one where I have the font sticking out there by 0.5 millimeter. Didn't like that, so I just painted up the back of it, and we can use it as a plain portal. But it's out of focus in this picture. This was on Brenna's printer, and it has these jags in there. And I don't know why it came from, because I printed two ways. One I used, this one would have been, the base of the print was the top. I actually had it sticking up for doing the print. So this could have come from problems of alignment as the printer made its way up. And we've had a few other examples of that on her printer, but not every print. So not 100% certain what's going on there. Could be enough of that's when Gus jumped up on the lac table. So this one printed out nice and smooth on mine. And since what I did with this one, and since I'm so happy with the prints on my printer, I just printed it flat. So it has right now a single coat of filler primer on it, and it's going to be getting a second one. I was at the museum yesterday, got home, realized I left these exactly like that at the museum. So we have Kids Day coming up on Saturday, so I'll be there running the layout for the kids, and I'll pick these up. And I have my collection of cars that are from multiple scales. I started at Z scale, worked my way up to LGB, and so when people ask about the different scales, we can show, well, there they all are in a display case. You can have a good look at them. So I have to make sure they're back there. So yeah, the Wacom tablets, looking forward to use it. I really miss our old tablet, because it was the tablet that was a screen, so you're actually writing right on the screen, doing things there. So the other thing I have considered getting is the 3D controller that you use in your left hand. It's the ball. Someone mentioned this on Friday as well, and I didn't have something like that back in the videographic days, but I did play with several different things. And to control the object, it's in your left hand. You have some basic controls there, and then you're actually doing your work with your right hand. So actually, I believe it was one of the pipeline companies in Calgary that we did some work with, that they had one of those set up, and I would have worked with it there. That was a challenging job because I had to make some system changes. I could not use the monitor room set up. They had a control room. I was running the mouse on their system computer to do a setup, and we were working through two mirrors. So I was running left-handed, looking over at one mirror that was showing me another mirror that was showing me the monitor in the far room. And I had to do that to set up a configuration to send control back to the other computer. So it was not set up with any software. Today you could use something like TeamSpeak or what have you to do that. But that time it was a major coordination job. Oh yes, and everything, all the text on the screen was mirrored as well. So just to add to the complication. But anyways, yeah, they were using 3D software over top of seismic information and doing animation from that. So that was a fun job. But I just heard a couple of cracks here, and it always makes me jump. Oh, the other thing I did, let me show you that before I get into displays here. Sumo Graphics CAD work. Yeah. Eye-hand coordination. Oh, God. Mine isn't there. One of the things I'm designing, and let me actually deal with the first topic here, since I'm, let's see, here's the other camera, and sorry for the motion sickness, but I know you can get a piece of pipe and do this, but that wasn't part of the exercise. This is your stock filament holder from Prusa. I just printed off a stick for it, a piece of pipe. It actually has an area at the other side. Let me show it to you. Ever so gently. If you see here, I just added this component to it just to help when printing with MakerBox filament, since it does not come within there. That's so cool. I love that. And this is such a gorgeous material to be working with. This Petchy this is from filaments.ca. What do they call it? Transparent crimson red. As I said, it's a beautiful material. But anyways, I added that on so I can put on any of the various filament calls I have here. What Prusa sends you with the basic setup is not great. It's one of my few complaints about the Prusa system. So once put that on there, it'll work. It's a temporary fix because this will be going into a lac enclosure as well, I believe. Not 100% certain about that yet. It all depends how things fit in that room. So I was going to say one of the other things I'm working with, let's get over here. As I said, this is for the spinners and the various designs I've worked on. I know there's tons of models out there for spinners, but it was a way to learn Fusion better. So that's not what I wanted. Let's see. Let's data master. There we go. And there, this little thing, which I'm going to work on more. This is a pen ring, and I have problems using my hand sometimes. This is why Brenna will be using her tablet more than I will, probably. Running a trackball, I have problems using a mouse. Even using a trackball is not an issue. But this is a ring, slips over your index finger, and this component here actually is what you use to put a pen through. Now, this is not a final design. I want to make this wider. This was actually the first thing I did within Fusion 360. So I'm going to start from scratch again and work on it some more. But what I'm considering doing is adding an insert to this component that, I'll print this out of PLA, but print an insert out of a softer material. I have a few here, the nylon flex, what have you. Something like a washer goes in, so you can actually hold the pens a little bit better. So this is your thumb rest. So your thumb goes over this component, pen goes in here, and this goes over your finger, and then you write with the flat of your hand. So as soon as I started talking about these, I'm on disability. I deal with the employment center here. And I said, well, this is one of the aids I'm looking at making for myself. And part of their mission at the Employment Society is to help people with challenges get back into the workforce. And they have clients that can use stuff like this. So once again, there are models out there that are similar, but they're very utilitarian. My goal is to make this a little bit more like a work of art and make that useful. I have a good friend of mine, if you listen to Songology, if you go to zidim.com, hit Songology, you'll see the site for what used to be our radio program. And I was the morning man, and part of my morning show was Bruce came on and we talked about a song or a band or an artist, got into great detail about them, or a recording studio. But anyways, got into that sort of information. But he writes the way left-handed people write, but he does it with his right hand. And he's developing problems holding a pen. And part of it's pain, it's part of his thumb, his finger. I go, yeah, okay, I think this design, I'll have to redesign it to hold this way. But he goes, it's also my elbow. Well, I can't directly address his elbow issue, other than maybe if he's not clenching these muscles due to having a ring like this, maybe that will loosen up the muscles going to his elbow. So that is the hope for this pen ring. So as I said, this is the very first thing I did when after I loaded up Fusion 360. There are more things I want to do to it. Actually, as I say, I want to make this component thicker, maybe about a centimeter wide, and redesign this to make it more flexible for holding pens. And once again, yes, this component too, it fits under your hand, make it wider as well. But then I'll be printing some of those out. The final goal actually is to be printing these out of a wood filament and polishing them up so they actually look like a piece of jewelry. So that's where we're headed, in that direction. But a lot of more lessons to learn for this. In the meantime, here, let's close these off. Looking forward to have that. This one I'm still pondering. I have thoughts about how I'm doing this one. But here's our end scale portal. We had it like this. Let's see. I should close that part. And let's see, I just had it here. New drawing from design or copy. Let's copy it. Master train's name. What do we got going on here? There we go. End scale tunnel. We'll rename it. End scale. Dual portal. And I can leave that open. I want to work on that later on. So how am I going to do this? Where's our sketches here? We have one body. Let's turn the body off. this is part of my learning curve. Skateboard type elbow pad. Yeah, that won't actually solve his problem, as it's the muscles going into it. He does actually have a elbow supporter on there. What he and I both use, actually, if we have to do a lot of writing, he lives in a world where he has to be writing constantly, is he uses Dragon Naturally Speaking, which I'll be putting on the workstation as well at some point. I'm going to pop off just for a moment here, and let's go back to the tunnel portal here. I don't know how much that I showed there, but anyways, I'll be right back. I just have to refill my glass. Sorry about that. Now, I actually had set up in Studio B there, and the computer was in there. I had it set up so I could actually hit some okay, take care, Bob. Thanks for tuning in. I had set up OSB, so when I did something like that, I could play elevator music. One of the royalty-free areas within my music library, but haven't bothered for out here. But I will get that set up once the workstation is up and running. But here, let's see what we got here. Yeah, it works there. Let me just go close up here as my octopus is printing. There's my current printer. And as you can see, the nuts are still in there. I haven't printed one with the cover as we just set that up as we spoke. The other thing is pull the dust covers off, as many people in the printer world have been suggesting and been using that. Pull dust covers off and toss the bearings into acetone, and works like a charm. And it's been very, very useful for making these spin forever. It's fascinating. Gus the cat hates them. What am I doing in here? Here we got our basic frame here. What I want to do this is the object. What can I do? I have been having problems with the copy, but I need this as a separate item. What is the best way to do this, since we do have the circle? That's a move type. I figured out how to do this once. It's not a move. select it. This where it comes up? No. I did this once where I just went copy these components, and I don't want the letters either. There's a copy box down here, so I have to figure out how I did that. Yeah. That's good. Don't want those showing. These are all extra areas within it. Good. Just dealing with this sketch. Can I do a copy of it? How do I make? See the body. How about this one? Create a copy. Good. Okay, and remove it. Oh, that works to begin with. Yeah. I want you over there. Move type. Freehand move. Oh, that's not what I wanted. What's going on here? Here I am learning about how objects work here. There's our original. So, let's learn how this stuff works. I want to have this. We're going to copy, and I want to go on X. How big was this? Let's do an experiment here. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Might help if I put the right screen on. I got a little package coming that'll help me with this. There we go. There's what I should be showing you. I'm going to move, copy. I want bodies. I want to create a copy, and I do want to go X by wish I had one of these still with me. Actually, let's cancel out of this first. Let's take a look at the sketch dimensions. I want to move it or might create a copy that is 15, that's a 35, so 40, 50 millimeters in the X, and then 5 millimeters in the Y. Okay. So let's go back to this. We are going to move. It's going to be a body. It's going to be a copy. And so X is going to be negative 50 millimeters, and Y will be 5 millimeters. Can I change this? That's perfect. Oh, this will be negative 5. I need to go behind. That's what we're looking for. No, they're not touching. How about negative 4? There. That'll do what we want for that tunnel portal. Okay, that's done. Now, if I go to this one, and let's see, I want to, let's, my concern, I don't need that 2007 in the copy, but if I'm doing it this way, I just delete. Okay, that's interesting. What just happened there? This is body 1. Okay, where is this body? Body 3. So is this considered to be a sketch? Let's turn off that body. And that it all uses the same sketch. This is an issue. May not be the best way of doing things. I may have to copy the sketch to do this. That's there. I wonder if I can do it that way. Cancel. did there. Where did I do that on my timeline? Hello. Okay. Deleting that face when I here if I so can I actually modify this face? No. I'm going to have to copy a sketch rather than press this object up this way. The reason I want to do that is we're only adding the 2007 on one tunnel portal. All the others will not have that. It's not showing now. What will be the best way to do this? I'm going to have to copy that element of the sketch. Make it wide, add this component in here. I want this to be the double thickness. I do want this upset, so if I redo it right from the sketch level, then I can change how I'll extrude this. So, let's do that. Let's go back here. Let's see our sketch history. On. That became that new model. Okay. When in doubt, let's get rid of changes I made. We'll go back to here. This is our dual portal. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Let's deal with our sketches here. Oh, let's see the sketch. So we're going to turn off the bodies here. Let's take a look at what sketches we do have. Sketch 7. I don't want this for this project. Okay. I have the dual faces for that. There it is. This. There, way to copy this. It's not move type, move object. I'm in sketch. This does not give me the copy of it, so that's fine. This is simply a Circle that's 35 centimeters. Let's see. I have been having problems remembering where the keys are of late. Now, this gives me the freedom to do a little bit of changing to this. How am I going to tweak this one? Add a tangent constraint. That's to the side. One line. Oh, 44 millimeters long. That's not what I want. Yeah, come down here. I ended up coming up quite a bit. I might as well have a dimension on this. There. So this one here, 15. Show me what the dimensions are for this line. 57. Add a distance to, or the height to it, and this can just come join there. Now, this gives me a second tunnel portal. Set up to the right heights. We have a letter on one. It's just when I extrude this one, I have to re-extrude it. I won't extrude this one as much. So this one, do a press pull one side. I make this 4 millimeters, it's the same. Let's see this body here. At this point in time, these should not match. There we go. I have them side by side now, but what I want to do is change this one. I want to edit this. here somewhere. Okay. Don't want to suppress. Edit feature. There we go. I did it by 4. I want to turn this by... I did the first one by 4. I'm going to make it by 10. Cap back on there, but I decided I didn't want that cap. And my lighter is sticking out. But now I have what I want for this component. That looks good. That's the way I want it to look for the secondary portal. Now I have to go edit a few features. Let's see. That one. Let's turn that off. And let's turn this one off. It's a very handy way of designing things, being able to come in here and play with features like that. Okay, now there's our let's edit this feature. -1. Let's go +1. Oh, target body found. That definitely is not doing what I want it to do. And it's this feature here, I believe. How about this? -1. Make this +1. No target body found. This. Just want this one not to be 1. Where is that lettering? Okay. It's on the surface. It's there. This is the sketch. Turn off the bodies. looking like I want it to. It was looking like I wanted it to. There. Leave it like that. Just delete there. Now, do I have what I want? I have a nice bulky tunnel entrance. I have a side entrance. Oh. One of these components came back on, which not what I wanted. Okay, not as smooth as I want to, but I got to where I want it to be. This is the first or the second of the tunnel portals we'll be using. Many of them will be based on the first one, but I do want to go design a few more of these. Let's make sure we save this, and we will. Supposed to be one body. One. That is one body. What have I done here? Let's modify, combine, have this body here, and that one there, and join. Okay, one body. That's better. Okay, let's save that. Make a 3D print. You got one body. Okay. This is trains, N-scale tunnel portal. This is 2007, since we got the date on there. I hit the cap lock key at some point. Good. And then I'll be printing this out in a PLA for what I need for that train. So, up and running. Our projects are going well. I have fun fidget spinners that go like mad. We do not have a stream this week. We will be back next week. We're going every other week. No idea who's going to be hosting the next one. But, you know, those Friday night hangouts are a lot of fun. Since I'm not on the road now, and as my gardens are slowly getting into place, I will be doing more video work. Tomorrow is when the workstation arrives. I have to figure out how to fit all that in. It's going to be a glorious machine. Looking forward to that. And then adding some software to the whole system. So I won't be streaming the install of the workstation, but perhaps some of the setup, or at least I'll shoot a video on it. So looking forward to having that up and running. So in the meantime, I'm going to wrap up for today. It's been an hour and a half, so I fight through doing some simple stuff, but we're getting there. Slowly learning this Fusion 360, slowly catching on to the OBS software, so I'm trying to get the right screen on as we do things, and hoping to get actual video content shot, just not the streams, but we will be getting there. I am found website, zidim.com. My 3D section isn't set up yet. I'm getting there though, but if you're into the music, suggest you go on to the Songology. I have to get another song posted today. We have the Songology channel, we have this channel, we have Facebook. Even though I have Zidim 17, I should actually pull that off. I really am on model 3D printing for model trains. That's the primary site. I'll change that graphic, and that's where we hang out. We passed over 200 members since I fired that up just over a month ago, so it's growing nicely. I am on Twitter on Zidim17, and I am learning to tweet, and if you're feeling generous, I'm over at Patreon as well. The big thing is, thank you for being here. Be safe out there, and we'll see you. Well, video blog will be up on Sunday, and I'm back Wednesday at 10 a.m. We'll be broadcasting live. Be safe out there.